Hello everyone, I'm Mojibade Shosoya, aka Mojibade Show, aka the lady MC with an MSc. I'm a professional compere, a television presenter, an actor, a model, a brand influencer, and a marketing communications executive. Welcome to my YouTube channel where we'll be discussing all things life and lifestyle, fashion, faith, travel and self-care, and media. Come with me on this journey. Hi Showstoppers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in again. I'm truly excited that you've tuned in today to watch this video. If you are a new subscriber, welcome to the family. Thank you for subscribing and thank you for watching this video. We have popcorn, we have drinks served for you. Please enjoy as you watch. Thank you so much for watching anyway. Please, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe as you're watching this video. Pause right now and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please share this link with your friends, your family, your colleagues, everyone within your circle, and let them benefit from all the value that you get from this YouTube channel. Remember to like and also drop a comment. On this particular episode, I will be speaking to you about what I have titled, Perfection is not a requirement for anything. I'll say it again. Perfection is not a requirement for anything in this life. And yes, I said what I said. Now let's get into dissecting what I'm talking about. Perfection is a myth. Hold on, before you start to get confused. There is nothing in life that requires you to be perfect to start. Yes, we should aspire to be perfect, but you don't need perfection to start anything in life. Let's take, for example, you see a job ad and they say they need a graphics designer. Have you ever seen anywhere where they put a perfect graphics designer needed? Send your CV. Or they need an accountant and they put there a perfect accountant is needed for this role. Or vacancy, perfect sales representative, apply within. No, you don't need to be perfect. You just must be committed, you must be dedicated, and you must strive for excellence. Now, in my own life, I'm pursuing excellence, not perfection. Because a lot of times, right, when we are aspiring and just wanting everything to be perfect, we end up finding ourselves in a situation called analysis paralysis. And so you analyze, and you overanalyze what you shouldn't be overanalyzing, when you should have just gotten started with the ideas and visions that you have. So many things in life, and I'm going to break it down to you. Perfection is not required for anything in life. And yes, I said it again, but I'll break it down. But let me share different stories with you. Again, if you watch my videos a lot and often, you would know that I'm a storyteller and I like to share personal experiences to buttress my point. Let's even talk about my YouTube channel. I was going to start this YouTube channel maybe, I think, early last year. And I kept on waiting for perfection. I wanted everything to be perfect. I wanted my location to be perfect. I wanted the videographer I was going to use, the production team to be perfect. I wanted every single thing to be perfect. And of course, you can imagine, I was overthinking everything. Even my lines, I was like, okay, what would I talk about? I want to frame it. I want to structure it this way. I want it to be different from my, Instagram page. I want it to be real. I want it to be. And I kept wanting it to be everything and more, which is not a bad thing in itself. But I overanalyzed it so much that January last year went by. February, March, April, May, June, July, August, till December, I still did not get on this YouTube channel. 2024 came. January. In fact, last year, September, I remember my EA saying, "Ma, we have to shoot next week." And I kept on saying, "I'm not ready. Some things were not in place yet." Mujibade. I overanalyzed this thing and I did not get started. I was like, what is wrong with you? Let me tell you how I started my YouTube channel. I had opened the channel, so that was the least of the problem. It was just getting the content. I wanted it to be too perfect. So I woke up one day. In fact, I spoken to my friend, Ima, oh my God, who had been on my neck and had been telling me, Mojibade, your YouTube channel, just get on. But I was there like, no, the content, I was trying to develop a content calendar. I needed to have content for 2 months. I had so many hopes, dreams, and aspirations, but I never got started because in my head they were not yet perfect. I wanted too many things, right? I wanted it to be different. I wanted to do this and do that, and I just was in my head. Like literally, I was in my head, not doing anything about it. In fact, one of the things that was hindering my start was I also wanted the perfect outfit. I didn't want it to be this, I wanted it to be that. I was overthinking way too many things in this my small head, right? But one day I woke up and I said, I'm shooting tomorrow. In fact, I didn't call my EA, I didn't call anybody. I called Ima, I said, Ima, please send me your videographer's number. Help me talk to him. I want to use him. I'm shooting tomorrow. Clothes I had not bought because I also wanted to, my montage, my trailer, I wanted it to be like the best. And I was just overthinking everything in my head, but thinking, no action because I was aiming for perfection. I woke up that morning, let me just get to it. I woke up that morning and I said, you know what, I am shooting tomorrow. My hair, I had not done. Nails, I had not done. Clothes, I had not bought, or I had not even planned my wardrobe to say, okay, this is what I will wear. I had nothing. I spoke with the guy, he wasn't even in Lagos. He had to come into Lagos the next morning. I said, I'm shooting, I don't care. I'm shooting tomorrow. I wrote down a few things. Content-wise, I had not put structure, nothing. And I shot my first 4 episodes. They were, if you go back and watch, they were spontaneous. What I knew, however, because I think September last year, I had done a question poll on my Instagram. I wanted it to be, I wanted the first 2 episodes to be a get to know me on a get to know me down to earth level. So I'd pulled the questions together and I'd already arranged them. But I was also, even in answering the questions, I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted everything to just be perfect. And 1 year went by, a year and 5 months went by, and I was still waiting for perfection, and I didn't start. However, I started on that day. I just picked, clothes from my wardrobe anyway, anyhow. I wore my branded t-shirts. I just wore different things. And then I started. And the moment I started, of course, I gained momentum. People were subscribing. People were excited. Like, oh my God, we've been waiting for this. We've been waiting for this. So imagine that I was holding people back from benefiting value just because I was waiting for perfection. I just wanted everything to be perfect. And I always say this, I'm striving for excellence in everything I do. But I'm not, waiting for perfection, which is holding me back. Well, my favorite scripture when it comes to work and my guiding scripture is found in Colossians 3:23 and 24. And it says, whatever you do, do it heartily as unto the Lord, knowing that of the Lord you will receive your reward. And that is what guides me. It does not say, whatsoever you do, do it perfectly. It says, do it heartily as unto the Lord. And I think that speaks to excellence. And my pastor always says this, that excellence honors God and inspires people. So I'm, striving to be an excellent person in everything I do, in my work, with my relationships with people. I just want to be an excellent person. I'm not trying to be perfect because nobody is even perfect. Now let's talk about perfection in terms of, life and different phases of life. But before I go into that, I posted a video on my page yesterday. This thing about perfection can even be addictive, and you realize that you're not even making progress. Perfection can be, I would have said is, but not always, but can be more often than not an enemy of progress. Because instead of you to be aspiring to grow and learning, making mistakes on the way and picking up and learning, in doing that, you are learning and growing. But no, you want to stay there and be perfect. And that's what happened again with my YouTube channel. Of course, I learned on the, so when I did my first few videos, a few persons corrected 1 or 2 things that, I put a laptop by my side and the screen had like fingerprints. So of course, in the next one, I knew to clean the screen of my laptop, So that's, if I didn't start, I would never get that kind of feedback from my friend, to be able to do better for subsequent episodes. I'll just be thinking perfection in my head. And again, perfection is a myth. Let me go back to the video I was going to talk about. So I put up a video yesterday on my Instagram page. I really love that video, particularly because someone I respect, admire, a renowned public speaker, entrepreneur, he's a global figure and a global asset. Vusi Thembekwayo. He's South African. I'm sure most of you know him and I've heard about him. He had commended me during an event. I loved, so they did a mashup from that event and cut out from it was a beautiful video. However, there was a problem with that video, which is not, if I don't say it now, you won't know. Vusi was one of the keynote, we had two keynote speakers. Vusi was one of the keynote speakers, and the second person, Mrs. Mojisola Hupnu-Wusu. Now, I smiled when I was calling her surname. When I had introduced her, I called her Mrs. Mojisola Huponu-Wusu because there's an O, so it's Huponu. But when she came up stage, she introduced herself as Moji Hupnu-Wusu, so the O is silent. I was a little embarrassed, because I was like, oh snap, I thought it was pronounced Huponu. So I learned, but I already knew from that day never to call her Huponu-Wusu. So when the video was mashed up, right, after I introduced Vusi and he passed the very kind feedback, which really warmed my heart. I'm actually going to I have the YouTube version of that video. I'll put it on my YouTube page, which really warmed my heart. And I saw the other part of the video where I had called Mrs. Mojisola Huponu-Wusu and I was cringing because now I know how to pronounce her surname. It's Hupnu, not Huponu. I was like, no, I'm not posting this video. And that video was in my draft for so long because for me, it was not a perfect video. That video is actually a beautiful video. But because in my own and by my own standards, it was not perfect, I wasn't going to put it out. But that video has inspired so many people. So why exactly was I chasing perfection with that video when I could have just put it out and actually, just inspire people? And that is the same with so many people across the world where God gives you an idea or you have an idea for a business or to start up something or just no matter how seemingly little it is or big, and you're waiting for the perfect time to start. You're waiting for the perfect time to shoot. Even the videos I'm shooting today, I kept on telling Winifred that, I'm not ready. The script is not ready in my head. And I'm like, what is with you and perfection? Just do it. Like Nike says, just do it. You will learn as you go on and you realize that perfection is a myth and never a necessity or a requirement for anything to get started anyway. And even in realizing that perfection is not necessarily attainable, you would realize that you would apply that to different areas of your life. So let me break it down for you. Human nature, right? Humans are not perfect. I am not perfect. Nobody is perfect. God is the only perfect being, right? And we're all trying to be like him, aspiring to be like him. But he doesn't even call us to be perfect. He wants us, and that's why, the scripture says that he wants us the way we are, just the way we are. He didn't wait for us to be perfect to send Jesus to the cross to die for us. In fact, it was in our imperfection that he said, my son will go die on the cross for these imperfect people. If we were perfect people, we wouldn't have needed Jesus. And I don't know where we'd be today. But we needed Jesus because we were not perfect. Now, speaking about human nature and how people are not perfect, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. I don't have any perfect friend. Everybody has their flaws, just like I do have my own flaws and I recognize them. However, when you recognize and understand that people are not perfect, you'll be able to give people benefit of doubt and accommodate people's excesses. And that also saves you stress because you realize, first of all, that, okay, so let me talk about me as a person. Me, Muchibadi, I'm not perfect. And I don't expect anybody else to be perfect. I just expect people to learn and grow over time. So you can't say, oh, this is how I am. No, I cannot. This is how I've always been. You can be better. You can grow. You can, achieve. You can see growth in your life and also aspire for growth and development for yourself. Don't always say, oh, this is how I am. I'm not a perfect person. Yes, we're not perfect. However, you should aspire to grow and be better. But my main point here, talking about human nature, is that you realize and just know that nobody is perfect. People are not perfect. So you must make excuses for people. It will help you even with your relationships. I also talked about, beauty standards. You know how we see certain things online and you just feel like, oh my God, she's so perfect. There are filters, there are editing apps, there's so many. I'm not saying people are not beautiful. There are so many beautiful people in this world, because I mean, God is such a designer and he's the best architect ever. He's the one that can, he beautifies everybody, and everybody is beautiful in their own way. But when you start to set unrealistic beauty standards for yourself because you've seen someone else's picture or someone else's looks, and you start to feel like, oh my gosh, she's so perfect, I want to be perfect like her, you just start to run helter-skelter. There are no perfect beauty standards. Do not kill yourself because you're trying to be like somebody else, or because someone else has set quite some unrealistic standards for you and you don't even know what is happening behind the scenes of the person's beauty or the person's, edited pictures and filters and stuff that you see. Nobody, and I say again, nobody has it perfect. People live good lives. I'm happy, like I said in one of my videos, that you can have it all. But having it all does not necessarily equate perfection. You should watch that video. There's no perfection anywhere. It just says that you are content per time, and you are content per time with whatever phase of life you are in. I'm also going to talk about relationships. No relationship is perfect. No friendship is perfect. I know that, again, social media, I talk about this often because I really want people to learn and grow. It's all curated content. And so when somebody posts on social media, and I think my friend Winifred talked about it in one of our videos, she posts when, her partner sends her flowers, we see all the good stuff. If they're having an argument, she would never talk about it. But what you would see online is the good times, the happy times, sent me this one, sent me that one, did this thoughtful act. When you see people's relationships, marriages, and that they post, they have disagreements, they have misunderstandings, they resolve it, right, quite all right. However, it's still not perfect, but they are good and they're making do with what they have, and they're living, their lives, and they're happy. However, you look at the curated content that they have put out, and you are basing, and so you might be in a relationship that of course is not perfect, but because you're seeing someone else's perfect relationship, you feel like, oh my goodness, my partner is not doing well, my partner is this. You start to find all the flaws when even you are flawed. So you must realize and acknowledge that there is no perfect relationship. Even with friendships, when you see friendships, and they're like, oh, friendship goes. There's no perfect friendship anywhere. Everyone is just working hard at it to make sure that, they thrive in their relationship, in their friendships. So whatever you have, you can create your own perfection. And I put it in quotes because it still is not perfect, but you are watering your own field where it is and making it as beautiful as possible. So don't envy other people's relationships or other people's curated content and life, and you feel like, oh, she has such a perfect life. There's no such thing as that. You must just be content with your own life and make it as beautiful as you can. Again, I'll also touch on one final thing before I talk about, how we should allow ourselves embrace imperfection. I'm not asking you to not develop yourself or not grow. I'm just saying strive for excellence, but embrace your imperfection and embrace your imperfect stories, your journey, or anything that you find yourself, or anything that you find yourself in, or anywhere you find yourself. Embrace it, no matter how imperfect it is. Even with families, people feel like, oh, family is so perfect. When you can work on your own family, have a good relationship with your siblings, your parents, and just make it as beautiful as can be. That's what you should strive for, just that beauty that you create for yourself, and not watching other people's families and how other people's parents treat them, and now comparing with your own family and getting angry with your family, your siblings, and just because you're seeing someone else's content out there and you feel like, oh, their own lives are so perfect and so yours is not perfect. No, darling. No, my friends. No, dears. Please create your own rainbow. Create the beauty that you want to see in your life, in your relationship, your friendships, your family, your work, your career, everything, all encompassing. Make sure you are creating that beauty. You know how they say that the grass is greener on the other side, but that's because they're putting in the work and they're watering it and they're striving for excellence and they're creating their own beauty. That's why you're looking at it and you're seeing so much beauty. You put in the work so that you can have beauty and let people see your own grass as also green. I hope that makes sense. So I've talked about accepting people. I've talked about not setting unrealistic beauty standards. I've talked about relationships and friendships. I also talk about processes. So no matter how much you plan, let's even talk about maybe an event, or there can be a little glitch here and there. It's okay. Like, life itself is not a smooth ride, and that's why the Bible says that even when you go through the valley, I will be with you, just because God knows that it's never going to be a smooth ride. So there's no perfect ride, no perfect journey. You just must embrace it. So even with processes, I know that project managers are like, well, no, don't worry about project management. I mean, there are the laws and theories of project management, but there's also the part where you must make room for errors. And I'm sure even in project management, there's room for error. You make room for errors and you correct it. No, and don't think that because there's a little detour in your journey, your life is no more perfect, or your life is now, miserable. No, my darlings. Please ensure that you embrace your journeys, you embrace your lives, and embrace it with all the imperfections that it comes with. When you embrace the idea that perfection is not a requirement for anything, one, you would accept yourself for who you truly are. Because again, like I said, nobody is perfect. I'm not perfect. And that is completely okay, right? So you would accept yourself for who you truly are. You will not set unrealistic expectations for yourself, because it's perfection and the desire to be perfect that makes you set things that are not realistic. And you start to have expectations that, oh, this person must be even... Okay, let's even apply it to friendships, and then you expect that this person is infallible, or this person can never make any mistakes. No, the person is not perfect, just like you aren't. So you must ensure that you have that mindset, and not to say you shouldn't expect things from people. Expect things from your friends, from people you hold dear. However, they are not perfect, just like you are not perfect. Focus on progress and not perfection. I mentioned this earlier. When you're focusing on progress, it would help to enable your personal growth. And that's what you really want. You don't want to be the same person you were yesterday today. You should be able to do things differently. You should be able to do things in more innovative ways. If you consider life, change is constant. Whilst you're trying to execute an idea and you're waiting for perfection, new ways are coming to implement that idea. So are you going to keep waiting every other day because by next week there's a new way, there's a new trend, there's something new? If you don't start out, how will you improve on what you already have? And that's why, you have brands, fintech companies do version 2.0 of their apps, version 3.0, because they were not waiting for it to be perfect. They've launched it. However, new technologies have come in place, and so they've been able to embrace that to develop and advance their product. And that's why they keep getting better. They do version 3.0, version 4.0 until, they keep advancing it and devising innovative ways to serve their customers better. If they were waiting for the best, version, they would never launch out. And so I'm talking to someone today, sounds like a pastor, but I'm talking to someone who is watching. If you have an idea, just launch out. Of course, when you have done all the necessary things, feasibility studies and all, don't wait for perfection to start. Just start. I remember, one day I was in a meeting, right? And they were brainstorming for a product I was supposed to launch. Then they asked for some ideas. I thought of an idea, but I thought it was stupid. I thought it was not perfect. In that same meeting, a few minutes after I thought of that idea, and it was a good idea, but I don't know why I criticized it in my own mind. Someone else raised the same idea that I thought of, and that idea was implemented eventually, and guess who didn't get the credit? Me, because I didn't say it out. I thought the idea was not perfect. Again, my video before this one, I talked about how you should enable your mind and only allow positive thoughts. Anyways, in my mind, I said, this is a very, shallow idea. So I thought. In a couple of minutes, and I promise you, this happened live. I'm sure the person also thought, this idea, we can flesh it up a bit. But the difference in both of us was that the person spoke up and the person got the credit for that idea. I felt so terrible with myself because I could have spoken up, but I was waiting for it to be perfect in my head, waiting for it to make more sense, waiting for it to, look better or sound better. But someone thought about it and said, you know what, I'll share this idea regardless. So the word is regardless. Just do it. Nike said, just do it. The need for perfection can sometimes hinder creativity. I'm saying this because sometimes you're so fixated on perfection, you are hindering your creative process. When you allow yourself to just, ideate, when you allow yourself to think and just throw on ideas here and there, and you allow yourself to know that the ultimate goal is not perfection, it is excellence, right? They're two different things, and they require two different pathways. When you're focusing on excellence, yes, you would achieve what you need to achieve at the right time. But when you're focusing on perfection, you're hindering, first of all, your creative process, you're hindering your progress, you're hindering your growth, you're hindering your learning journey and the learning curve, because the more you focus on perfection, the more you are unable to learn. And I say that because when you think, oh, I have to make this thing perfect, you're not even allowing yourself to make mistakes. Mistakes are a part of life. Thomas Edison, is it Thomas Edison? Oh God, I hope I'm not quoting the wrong person. The person who innovated the light bulb tried 1,000 times. 1,000. Do you know what it means to try 1,000 times? He just was going at it until he hit that excellent point where he said, yes, this is it, the light bulb moment, literally. So stop waiting for perfection and don't let it hinder your creative process, your growth, your learning curve, the experiences along the way. You would make mistakes, and it's a part of life. I've made my own mistakes, and I said, you know what, I've learned from it, and I've grown, and I've become better for it, and I'm excited at my journey. So stop waiting for everything to be perfect or for you to be perfect, because you're going to wait and keep waiting till forever. As I start to wrap all of these up, I'm saying to you that when you recognize that perfection is not a requirement for anything, you reduce the stress on yourself, you reduce anxiety, because it's in attaining or desiring or wanting to be perfect and reaching for perfection that you are overworking yourself, you're stressed out, you are anxious about results, but when you allow yourself to learn by making mistakes, it's not like you set out to make mistakes, but you embrace the mistakes on the way, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to take this as a learning curve, and I will get better at whatever it is that you're doing, your product, your service, your business, your career, anything at all. Just go at it and stop giving yourself unnecessary stress, pressure, anxiety, or whatever it is that comes with that desire to be perfect. Secondly, you would also be more compassionate towards yourself. You know how they say that be your greatest critic? I always say that the reverse or the flip side is be your biggest cheerleader. So no matter what it is that you're doing, just be encouraging yourself on the way and reminding yourself that nobody is perfect. And this might not be perfect right now, but you're striving towards excellence. So you would be more compassionate towards yourself. And people that are always criticizing themselves. Yes, critique your work, because whilst you are being your biggest critic, make sure you're also your biggest cheerleader. Don't always criticize and look for the faults in everything. I used to be like that. First of all, when I watch my videos, I cringe. I do not like hearing my voice. So I'm already looking at that, watching that video with an irritated look, like, oh, why are you shouting? Why is your voice high? Why is your pitch low? There's just so much critique and criticisms going on. However, what I'm saying to you is allow yourself to make mistakes, allow yourself to learn. I've made mistakes on my job, I've made mistakes, in life, in relationships, in friendships. But what have I done? I have learned through it, and I've been more compassionate with myself. Finally, as I wrap all of these up, focus on progress and not perfection. Focus on progress and not perfection, and please embrace your imperfections. It could be in your dentition, it could be in your anything. Just embrace and I say dentition because I will not tell you why I said it. But please focus on progress, not perfection. Focus on just being a better person than you were yesterday, a better person that tomorrow than you were today. Just be looking at progress, doing things better and better daily. And with that, you are able to achieve excellence. I put down a few quotes here that I saw, and I think they're quite instructive. So there's one here that says, don't strive for perfection. It doesn't exist. Strive for a better you. That's always within reach. Progress, not perfection. You can't be perfect everything, but you can gain progress on a daily basis. Striving for excellence motivates you. Striving for perfection is demoralizing. Finally, please strive for excellence and don't focus on perfection. Strive for a better you, and yes, you will indeed be a better you. I hope this video has truly blessed you. Thanks for watching. Please share with your friends, your loved ones, and your family. Goodbye.